Okay, so we're going to begin to work on our apron, and I have a piece of material here. I actually got a yard, but you can get half a yard. And as you can see, the material is folded in half, and you want to maintain that fold in half because this is going to be the front of the skirt of the apron. So I'm just going to make this is for a tiny lady. She is my daughter-in-law Idama, and I'm gonna just do 11 inches, and combined that will be 22 for her waist. So it's probably a little bit big, but that's okay. So like I said, we want to make a line, and I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so that's our line. Now remember, this is the front of the apron. To get your measurements, if you don't know them, I will measure half of my waist and just use that. So I have at least 11, and that will be, like I said, 22. So I'm going to start from here, again, the front of the apron, and I don't want it too long, but I want to leave some material so that we could do the binding. So we're going to start marking here. So we did 11, right? So we're going to start with 11. Let me make sure that I did that. Wait a minute. I did. Okay, and we're going to start doing that all across so that we could get a reference line on when to cut. Okay, so now we're going to begin to cut all through that. And actually, let me get rid of some of this bulk. It'll be a little easier. Let's get rid of this so the material will be smaller for us to cut. Okay? Alright, so we're going to begin to cut it. As you can see, we're going to start cutting it as straight as we could, and you're just going to meet with the dots. And when you open it, you kind of have a cute little skirt there, right? That's going to go around her cute little waist. So we're going to do the same thing to the back because I want to double the material. So we're going to go ahead and do this to another section so we can have two, and then I'll show you what to do after. Okay, so I took another piece because, like I said, I want to do this. You want to make two of these if you want it double, and I think it should be double because it will give the apron some stability. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and trace that. I'm going to use some pins. That way I can trace the bottom and end up with two. Okay. Alright guys, so as you can see, we have two. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew these two pieces together. And we're going to sew all the way around, and we're not going to do the top. We're going to leave the top unsewn until we attach the top of the apron, okay? but we could go ahead and do around. All right, so let's go sew this. Okay. So there is a cute little skirt. Let me get rid of this. So now you're gonna take that big opening that we left and flip that skirt. Flip it inside out. Let's get rid of some of this, just to make sure that it turns, that it's not too bulky. So flip it over. You can see how little the skirt is. She's tiny. It'll look kind of cute once we put some little ruffles or something on it. Okay, so what I would advise for you to do is to go ahead and iron this. So you want to have those nice straight, so you can straighten it out when you iron it. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I'll be right back to show you the rest. So here I have another small piece of material. This one is, let's see the measurements. Like I said, this is a small apron, so you want to put it to you know what your, so this is 8.5, and because I folded it, that will be what, 16, 17, and I believe it's 19, yep, 19 in length. But like I said, you want to make it, you know, measure yourself, that way you'll know more or less how much. Now, I'm just going to use this board here to kind of give me that U. And like I said, this material is folded in two. And hopefully when I cut it, I will have, let me make sure. Yep. Just to give me a reference where the neck is going to be, okay? Okay. So there you go. So you have more or less what looks like a neck. And then we're going to measure it again. You know, that's old saying, measure twice, cut once. Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead one more and cut just a little bit more. Okay, so we'll cut a little more. No, I'm not too worried about the cuts because I'm going to take another material. Remember, we're going to double it. And we're going to double this again. Okay, so we'll do the same. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, so here we got both sides together. And I'm going to do the same as I did to the skirt. I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew everything except the bottom. Well, part of the bottom, okay? All right, now we're going to leave this part open. And hop over. And get the corner. it is. Everything is sewn except an area on the bottom that we are going to take care of it after. And now you want to make you want to go very close because it's the neck part, and when you flip it over you want it to be able to bend nicely. So you're just going to cut very close to the stitch line but not quite on it. And that is so that we could get some movement when we flip this over. And like I said, get very close to the stitch line, but try not to touch it. And if you do, just go over it with the sewing machine again. Okay? Let's see. A little more. Okay, so let's flip it over. I like to cut the corners a little bit because that way the less bulk, the better. And that's, like I said, that's just my preference, you know. My preference. Okay, so now we could go ahead and flip it over. It makes a big difference when you double it. You know, it doesn't look so cheesy. At least you took the time to do that much, right? So put your fingers in there or whatever pointy area. So do you see why I made the cuts on top now? Because if I wouldn't have done that, we would have had a lot of wrinkle up there. The material needs room to stretch. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to iron, just like we did with the rest. So you're going to take the apron, the top of the apron, make sure that you create a little crease here so that you can line it up with this. And look very carefully what I'm going to do. This is the front of the apron. I'm going to flip the top over, and this part is going to go right here. Okay, and we're going to kind of sew that like so. So let's line them up here as best you can. It's a little tricky. We're going to put a pin right here. And you're going to come over here and do the same. I will show you at the end of why we need to sew it this way. Oops. My little chicken doesn't cooperate sometimes. Okay, so now we're going to bring it to the sewing machine, and we're going to be sewing this like so. Okay? All right. Okay, find that center. Actually, I'm going to start right in the middle. We're going to start right in the middle, and then we're going to flip it and go around the other way. And stitch back. Okay, so as you can see, this is the front. It looks a little retarded, but we've got to remember that we're putting this thing here, and this is not going to show. And the reason why I sewed it like that is so that you can look in the back, and it looks It looks better in the back rather than to have that hanging around. This part of the front of the apron, we're going to be covering it anyway. And we are going to be covering it. We want to, let's see if we could open it. I don't know. It might be a little hard to open it. Yeah, we got to try to open that seam. And I went a little short on this side. Okay, so I have this other piece of material that we're going to use to create the straps. So I'm going to be cutting 4 inches. I want the strips to be 4 inches because we're going to go to the sewing machine, sew them, and then flip them over. And to do that, I mean, you could use any ruler. I have this wonderful cutting mat. It's actually made for you to be able to cut precise cuts. So let's trim the edge. Let's trim the edges at least. Yeah. Yeah, so this is an amazing find. And my rotary cutters. Let's get rid of this over here. And I'm just going to straighten it out. You see how it has? You just follow the areas that you want to cut. And I said I wanted the length to be 4 inches in width. So let's double check it. What did I do in my little... Alright, so this is 4 inches anyway. So you see, you want to cut right here. So that's one. Look how wonderful that cuts for you. Isn't that wonderful? And this will give us a long strip, but I'm going to need to attach. I'm going to need to make that a little bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple more. Like I said, you can use anything you have, but I love this. Double checking the 4 and cut. Amazing. And sometimes I'm gonna go ahead and cut 3. Let's see, maybe, yeah, let's cut 3. Just to make sure that we have enough, let's cut 3. That's it. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, guys, so now we're going to go to our sewing machine, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew, because I need one long one. I'm gonna go sew these together. Okay? So let's bring our sewing machine over so that we can sew these. Okay. Because cotton, when you use good material, you could just pinch it and it'll stay where you want it, at least for a little bit. So you just put your fingers through there, and now we're going to be sewing right sides together so that we could make a long strip. I'm gonna add another one. Remember I told you I was gonna add another one to make sure that I have enough. Put those sides together and sew it again. Open it up. All right, guys, now let's begin to close it. And we're gonna sew all this strip all around, okay? We'll end up with a nice 2-inch strip. Alright guys, so we have our long strip here. And now what we have to do is we got to turn it inside out again. Right side out, I mean. And usually I would have a bigger pin, but this is all I can find. So we're going to work with that, right? We're going to work with what we got. I'm going to try to attach it to the other one so that I could have some lever finding it. And just see if that'll work, right? Like I said, you got to work with what you got. To get it started is the trick, right? Okay. So you want to just keep pushing that in there, pushing and pulling. Pushing, pulling, until you come all the way to the other end, okay? Now we're going to begin to place our middle section on here. Okay, so let's get our long strip. So this is the long strip. Fold it in half and find our center. Okay. So you fold it in half. Here's the center. And if you do that, I usually do it in my notes. And we're going to sew this back right below that line. We're going to try to stay on that line, okay? So for the moment, let's put a pin, making sure that we open as much as we can out of it. Like I said, even though it's a little tricky here, but we can do it. A little tricky, guys, but okay. Where the heck is it? Okay. Alright, so I believe that's the center. And we're going to go all the way. We're going to be sewing around the front of the skirt all the way to the end of the little skirt. All the way up to the end, like so. Okay? So let's begin. So as you can see, we're almost done, guys. Just a couple of more details. Okay, so I'm actually going to put a pocket right on it. I'm going to put a pocket in the center and a pocket on the skirt. So we see if we go eyeball this. So I've already cut the pocket, and I did what I did with the other material, that I double it, so there's double. So all we got to do is find a spot where she can use her apron.